Exactly 2 weeks ago, Prime Time broadcast a special report from the front lines of the Russia-Ukraine war. In that report, Irish filmmaker Finn Boylan emphasised the importance of drone warfare in this conflict.
I've seen this war evolve since the very beginning, since Kyiv 2022, and it's changed. Last summer was large-scale mechanised war. I mean, there was infantry, machines, tanks, aviation. It's not like that anymore. It's purely a drone war now, and it's so much more terrifying. And there's no escaping it. You can hide from an artillery shell, but you can't hide from a drone.
Finn also described meeting a young drone pilot fighting for the Ukrainian side.
I met one of the pilots in the 3rd Assault Brigade. He's actually born and raised in Dublin from Rathmines to Ukrainian parents, but he's a Dub through and through.
This soldier has now been reported as missing and is presumed dead. During filming, he was identified by his military call sign, Irlandets, or the Irishman, but his real name is Alex Ryzhuk, and he was just 20 years old.
I've been in Ukraine for a bit over a year now. I'm in 3rd Separate Assault Brigade. So my parents, they're originally from Ukraine, from Rivne. They came over to Ireland over 23 years ago. I've been living in Ireland ever since. So I went to school in Sing Street, CBS. Lots of good memories from there. We'll have to come back to visit once I come back. At the end of the day, I was born and raised in Ireland. Ireland has given me many opportunities and many things in my life that I'm grateful for. So I would consider myself Irish, but at the same time, I cannot forget about my heritage and where my parents come from. At the moment, the situation over here in Ukraine is quite serious, and I need to be over here helping out while I still can.
Watching the war unfold from Dublin, there came a point when Alex decided he could no longer simply watch.
Like the start of the war, I was on Telegram keeping up with what was going on. And once Bucha got liberated, a bunch of cases with rape and serious allegations went out forward against Russian soldiers. And me having little siblings, I was like, I cannot let this go. So that was my first thing that drove me. And then after that, it was mainly deaths of friends and family. So I have a few friends from 18 to 23. That lost their life in this war, and a few older family members that also unfortunately lost their life in this war.
Faced with the prospect of their 18-year-old son joining the war, Alex's parents hid his passport. But while this delayed his plan, it couldn't stop it entirely.
They took my passport from me, and they're like, we won't give it back to you until you cool down a bit. So I thought going the way of giving it a few months and then going again. But unfortunately, that didn't work, and they didn't give me back my passport, so I started the application for a new passport. I got my new passport, didn't tell anyone, and then slowly collected money and kit to come over to Ukraine.
During his time in Ukraine, Alex lived with the horror of war and of losing those fighting alongside him.
War is brutal. If someone unfortunately dies, the biggest responsibility we have at that point is to get their bodies back so they can have a proper funeral. At the end of the day, the most valuable thing you have as a human being is your life. And those people who died, unfortunately, gave that for this country. In war, if you value your life too much, you'll go into a very bad stage of where you're panicking a lot and you're overthinking. But at the same time, if you're not scared, you have a sense of heroship, and you'll die very quickly because of that, because you'll feel invincible. So you just have to find that kind of centerpiece of you're scared, but you kind of don't care at the same time.
In this interview with Finn Boylan, recorded just a few months ago, Alex discussed the dangers of war and how quickly deadly situations develop.
Unfortunately, war is a thing where you can have a very good period of time at war, and then there could be a few missions where everything just goes south, and there's nothing you can do to control that. It just goes south. War is not a joke. Like death in war is a very high probability, and it is something that constantly happens. Even if it's not to you, it's to someone else or to someone you know. So you always have to be on edge and just keep improving, because the moment you stop improving yourself is the moment where you get lazy, and that's kind of the moment where most people start dying.
While the risk of losing his life was ever present, Alex found it difficult to leave the war and return to Ireland, staying much longer than he had initially intended.
My initial plan was to be here for a year, and then I was here for a year, and I'm like, stay a bit more. So like, there's like a few stages of being at war. It's like, first is like, yes, I'm at war. Second is kind of like doubting yourself. It's like, what am I even doing here? Why am I here? Then it's like addiction. And then the very last stage is like, I don't want to be a part of this no more.
So what stage are you at?
I'm like addicted.